Breaking Bad begins with a man who has done everything right. Walter White is a brilliant chemist, a contributor to Nobel Prize-winning research, and a dedicated public servant. Yet, in the eyes of the modern economy, his genius is worth exactly $43,000 a year. Most viewers see the show as a dramatic descent into darkness, but before the breaking, there was a long, quiet bending. Walt is the personification of wage slavery. He isn't just working a job, he's trapped in a cycle where his labor provides just enough to survive, but never enough to escape. When we see him scrubbing the tires of his own student at a car wash, his second job, the show is asking an uncomfortable question. What happens to a person when dignity becomes a luxury they can no longer afford? The catalyst for the series isn't a sudden desire for power, it's the total failure of a social safety net. In a purely market-driven society, an individual's value is often tied strictly to their productivity. When Walt's productivity is threatened by a terminal diagnosis, his value in the legal system collapses. The American dream promises that hard work leads to security, but Walt discovers what we might call the rust handcuffs. He has a mortgage, a child with special needs, and a baby on the way. He has no mobility because he has no savings. In this framework, healthcare isn't a right, it's a debt trap. The system didn't just fail him, it calculated that he was no longer a profitable investment. Desperation eventually drives Walt to the black market, where his specialized skills finally command a premium. But as he climbs the ladder, we see that the drug trade isn't actually the opposite of capitalism. It's the ultimate unregulated version of it. Characters like Gustavo Fring show us the company man at his most efficient and ruthless. Gus uses vertical integration, sophisticated logistics, and a sterile corporate image to mask the violence of his industry. He proves that the tactics used to dominate a legal market, ruthless efficiency, suppressing competition, and brand loyalty are the exact same tools used in the criminal underworld. Eventually, the doing it for the family excuse falls away to reveal the show's final critique, the hollow necessity of infinite growth. Even when Walt has more money than his family could spend in 10 lifetimes, he cannot stop. He famously tells his wife, "I'm the empire business." In a system built on the concept of more, there is no such thing as enough. The goal shifts from basic security to total market dominance. This pursuit of profit at the top relies on the exploitation and addiction of a permanent underclass. While the CEOs, like Walt and Gus, live in suburban comfort, the actual product destroys the communities left behind by the legal economy. We see this through Jesse Pinkman, who represents a generation trapped in a different kind of system. For someone like Jesse, the choice wasn't between a good career and a life of crime. It was a choice between a low-wage dead end and a high-risk gamble. Ultimately, Breaking Bad suggests that when a society values capital over human life, it reconfigures the individual. It turns the neighbor into a predator and the teacher into a kingpin. Walter White didn't just break bad. He realized that in the world he lived in, he felt more alive as a monster with money than he ever was as a law-abiding citizen struggling to pay his bills. And in the end, that might be the most terrifying thing of all. So, not a super long video, but it's something that's been on my mind, thinking about communism and capitalism, and thinking about different forms of media, or different shows and movies within media, I guess. And what is the message that those shows or movies are truly trying to portray? As somebody who struggled with addiction with MDMA or methamphetamines, what they were talking about in the show, I did feel somewhat of a connection to Jesse. And of course, after making this script with some help from AI, it becomes more clear and apparent why. Because he is one of the representations of the exploited and oppressed working class. But yeah, like I was talking about in the script there, Walter White is someone who was trying to be a law-abiding citizen, do everything right, by the books, but then realize what's the point when these are the people being taken advantage of, and he can't truly use his knowledge to the best of its abilities, right? And then even when he did try to contribute to the Nobel Prize winning research, he got screwed over by the people who owned the company, right? Or who took credit for all of the information. And then you realize that in a capitalist society, it promotes people to take gambles like that, to just put their whole lives on the line. Because what's the alternative? There's nothing of equal or more value on the other side of that. But this doesn't need to be a super long video. It was just some ideas I had floating around in my mind, and I thought I'd put it into a video and throw it up on the channel. But if you enjoyed, make sure to show love and all that good stuff. Subscribe so you don't miss any of the new videos. But I'll leave it here for now. Like I say at the end of all my vids, I love you, stay safe, good luck, and take it easy.